Today we went to the Tata Institute of Social Sciences to learn a bit more about human trafficking. And then we got to spend about 3 hours with our Indian family. Favorite part of the night had to be dancing with the families, in particular Paul's clogging. Felt really welcomed by the families. They were so inviting. We started off the day by walking down to the Gateway of India, and we took an hour-long ferry to ride to Elephant Island. Basically walked up through a market to the top. By the time we got to the top, we were all sweating like crazy. And at the top of Elephant Island there was a temple. It's like a hand-chiseled temple. It took 200 years to chisel out. It's amazing, all these different statues carved into the walls of different Hindi gods. And we went to Prerna and listened to Pretty talk about why she created the organization. She's one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. We actually drove out to the different red light districts here, but just seeing those women lined up on the streets made me realize how lucky I am to have been born into the family and born into the United States, and it was really an eye-opening experience and reinforced why we came here. We went to the Hanging Gardens, so after that we went to Prerna, the one on Falkland Road, to work with some of the kids. We watched the sunset at the Gateway to India, which we didn't actually see the sunset was going in the opposite direction. Yeah, and then we went grocery shopping and bought chips and Oreos. My favorite part of the day was going shopping. It was our first time. We just got rupees today, so it was our first time getting different stuff. So what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was the kids.
We did the hokey pokey with them.
Shout out to Paul and Rich on that one.
And we went to Save the Children India, which is a non-profit organization that works with children, works with trafficked women. And we got to spend some time making friendship bracelets with women who were at one point trafficked into the sex trade. And I guess what was most amazing to me is how much emotion can be kind of transmitted back and forth between two people, even though there's a language barrier. Kind of having that connection with women who are of a similar age was really meaningful to me. We arrived in Aurangabad today. We took the train. I also really enjoyed watching families on the train. I've been noticing a lot about family interactions, and I actually witnessed a mom acting as the disciplinarian in a couple relationship. Her child was crying and she actually spanked her child, and her husband was kind of there to soothe the child, which is flipped as to how it's viewed in America. And went to the Ellora caves today, which there's like Jainist temples, Buddhist and Hindu temples. Each individual carving kind of depicts an ancient story. My favorite part of today had to have been one of the caves that we went to. I believe it was a Buddhist temple. We went inside and it had like these amazing acoustics. And our tour guide actually went into the back of the room and sang, and just the amount of power and emotion that you could feel from that was absolutely amazing. We started out with a fresh breakfast. We had French toast. We took a 2.5-hour bus ride to the Ajanta Caves, which are Buddhist temples that are kind of carved into the side of this huge rock mass. They date back to 200 BCE. It really kind of gives you an idea of how rich the culture here in India is. We We arrived in Jaipur today. Seems a little bit more upscale. Still a lot of poverty, but not as much trash in the streets. People are dressed in brighter colors here. It's really cool to see the differences as we travel. We actually went to dinner at a small little village. There were women in bright colored saris and with jewels on them dancing, and there was people doing magic tricks, and there was elephant riding. I actually rode a camel for the first time tonight.
Come on, radio, stereo, the way you move ain't fair, you know. Hey, soul sister, ain't no Mr. Single thing you do. Oh yeah.
Basically started out the morning by arriving at the Amber Fort, which apart from the Taj Mahal is one of the biggest tourist attractions here in India. So we got to the Amber Fort and rode elephants to the top of the fort. I rode with Julia. Our elephant's name was Maria. Once we got to the top of the fort, we basically spent, I'd say, 2 hours kind of exploring the fort. Took a 4-hour bus ride. I really enjoyed the drive. I always love driving around India. I was really surprised to see how many kids there are that work from a really young age here. Just driving through the different villages, it's not only, you know, older women and older men that are manning these shops, but it's also little kids. It kind of makes me question how I view innocence and how children should be raised. After we drove here, we actually went on our first safari ride. And after, I'd say about an hour, hour and a half, I'd kind of given up hope that we weren't going to see a tiger. But then, alas, we did see a tiger. Today we spent another exciting day here at the Tiger Den. Julia and I spent the afternoon kind of bumming around by the pool. We actually went on our third safari ride. And this time, about an hour and a half in, our tour guide and driver actually spotted a tiger in the distance. So we drove around and actually found her. And the driver kept inching closer and closer and closer. Sat there. The entire time my adrenaline was running, my heart was racing. I was also terrified. We left for our fourth and final safari. Unfortunately, we didn't see one tiger. We saw 3 tigers. Agra is the home to the famous Taj Mahal. It looks like a painting, even in person. I have been home a few days. I've been eating a lot of American food. I haven't had time to kind of talk about my experiences in Delhi. We started out the day by going to Akshardham Temple. Watching Manjeet go up to the front and pray to his God was an unbelievable experience. Going to India has made me kind of reconsider the role that spirituality plays in my life. After, we went on rickshaw rides. Julia and I basically had the smallest guy carting us around Delhi up these hills, and the poor guy was working up a sweat. We went to a nonprofit organization that works with children whose mothers are in the sex trade. It was a very emotional experience for me. In the United States, making bracelets out of straws and string, you know, may not be very exciting, but to these kids, I mean, it made their day. Just being able to help them and make them happy for one day was an experience like I can't even put it into words. They all gave us hugs and started kissing our cheeks. I think it was at that time that it kind of hit me, kind of the impact that we were making. I still haven't processed that we were in India for 2 weeks. I still haven't processed all the things that we saw. Everyone here has been amazing and gracious and just welcoming, and I've had some really great times with all of you.